Today, we're diving into Luke 21. It's this incredible chapter that starts with a tiny, quiet moment of sacrifice and then just explodes into this huge cosmic prophecy about the end of an age and the start of a new one. So let's get right into it. Right out of the gate, Jesus hits us with this really powerful, kind of counterintuitive statement. This one line really sets the stage for everything that's about to unfold, and it forces us to ask ourselves, what do we really value? So let's paint a picture. We're at the temple in Jerusalem. It's this massive, wealthy, powerful place. Jesus is just watching people, and he sees the rich making a big show of putting large sums of money into the treasury. And then he spots a poor widow. And the contrast here, it's everything. You see, the rich were giving from their surplus. It was a chunk of change, sure, but it didn't really cost them anything. It was a fraction of their abundance. But this widow? She puts in 2 tiny copper coins. The text is very clear. It was all she had to live on. In Jesus' eyes, her gift wasn't about the amount. It was about the sacrifice. She gave literally everything she had. Okay, so as they're leaving this powerful scene, some of the disciples are just gawking at the temple. And you can't blame them. It was this magnificent building, covered in beautiful stones and incredible gifts. They are completely in awe. But Jesus is about to just shatter that feeling. Wow. Can you just imagine hearing that? This building wasn't just a building, it was the absolute center of their entire religious world, a symbol of God's presence and permanence. And Jesus says it's going to be utterly demolished, not just damaged, completely flattened. This prediction just hangs in the air, full of urgency and confusion. So, of course, the disciples have questions. I mean, who wouldn't? They basically ask 2 things. When and how will we know it's coming? The simple, urgent question is the engine that drives the whole rest of the chapter, and Jesus gives them a long, detailed, and frankly, pretty terrifying answer. Now, Jesus doesn't just circle a date on the calendar for them. Nope. Instead, he lays out this whole series of signs, a sequence of events that will happen first. It's like a roadmap of turmoil, and he breaks it down into a few distinct categories. So first up, he warns them about human chaos. He says there will be false messiahs popping up, people claiming, I am he. There will be wars, revolutions, nation fighting against nation. But here's the crucial bit of advice he gives. Do not be frightened. He says, yeah, these things have to happen, but this isn't the end. This is just the beginning, the birth pains, as it's often called.
Then the turmoil just scales up. We go from human conflict to the entire planet, even the cosmos, being in an uproar. We're talking about huge earthquakes, widespread famine, plagues, and terrifying, unexplainable events and signs in the sky. It's a picture of the natural world just completely coming unglued.
And then the prophecy gets intensely personal. And this part is just gut-wrenching. He tells his followers, you will be arrested, you'll be persecuted, you'll be put on trial. But the most devastating part? He says the betrayal will come from the people closest to them, parents, brothers, relatives, friends. But then he reframes it. He says this won't be a defeat, it will be your opportunity to bear testimony. Right in the middle of all these terrifying predictions, Jesus drops this incredible promise of protection. It's a total paradox, right? You'll be hated, betrayed, maybe even killed, and yet not a hair of your head will perish. If you just stand firm, you will win true life. It's this core message of profound hope right in the middle of all the chaos. So after all the general signs, Jesus gives them one very specific, historically verifiable thing to watch for: the destruction of Jerusalem. He tells them, when you see armies surrounding the city, you know its end is near. And even gives practical advice: get out, flee to the mountains. This event would become a really critical anchor for the whole prophecy.
And here it is. This is the climax of it all. This is the main event. After all the human conflict, the natural disasters, the persecutions, and the fall of Jerusalem, the ultimate sign will appear. The Son of Man, a title Jesus uses for himself, is going to return, but not quietly. He'll come in a cloud with cosmic power and overwhelming glory.
Okay, so you hear all these dramatic signs, and you might think, how is anyone supposed to interpret all this without just panicking 24/7? Well, Jesus, as he so often does, uses a simple, everyday story to make his point crystal clear.
The logic here is just brilliant in its simplicity. When you see a fig tree's leaves start to sprout, you don't get confused. You know summer is just around the corner. He's saying it's the same thing with these signs. They aren't meant to cause confusion or fear. They're meant to give you certainty, to let you know that the kingdom of God is near.
And just to hammer home how certain this all is, Jesus makes this monumental claim. He basically says, everything you think is permanent, the sky above you, the ground beneath your feet, all of it will eventually disappear. But his words, this prophecy, it will stand forever. That is an ultimate statement of authority.
So this is the crucial part, right? Knowing all of this, what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to live your life in the meantime? The final section of his prophecy shifts from prediction to really practical, personal instructions. He really boils it down to 3 key commands. First, be careful with your inner life. Don't get distracted and numbed by partying and pleasure, or get paralyzed by all the anxieties of life. Second, be watchful. Stay aware, because the end will come suddenly like a trap. And third, be prayerful. Ask for the strength to get through what's coming and to ultimately stand firm. And this is the final powerful image he leaves them with. He says, when you see this terrifying cascade of events start to happen, your reaction shouldn't be to cower in fear. It should be one of hopeful expectation. You're supposed to stand up tall, lift your head, and look up, because these aren't just signs of destruction, they're signs that your ultimate redemption is finally here. And so that leaves us with a question that feels just as relevant today as it did 2,000 years ago. I mean, we live in a world that is constantly bombarding us with crises, anxieties, bad news. So what does it mean for us to follow this instruction? How do we stay spiritually awake and watchful without letting our hearts get totally weighed down by it all? It's that constant balancing act between awareness and hope.